Hey everybody, here's another match in the Firefly, platooned up with Hardest and Nevzing. They are in an Achilles and a Hellcat respectively. Pretty interesting platoon structure. And we've ended up on Murodunka, South Spawn. It's Encounter. And I decide rather than going for the forest, which I've been doing quite a bit lately since the map got changed up, I'm going to go for the west side and play in the hills. Now, Desua told me to let him know before I started recording videos so he could spam the shit out of me on Steam and bleep bloop all the way through the video. Well, guess what, Desua? I didn't tell you I was going to start recording this, and every single message you sent me today I wasn't recording a video during, so eat shit. Now, the Firefly and the Achilles both get more or less the same gun, 17 pounder. Very high rate of fire, very high pen for a tier 6, but low alpha. The Hellcat, of course, has the 90mm, which has decent pen, quite good actually. A lower rate of fire, but does higher alpha. Now, the Hellcat has been nerfed quite a bit. It's still quite strong, but nowhere near as brutal as it used to be. And right away, before we even get into position, we've got some enemy tanks lit. Now, I don't know what these guys thought they were going to do, pushing into the center of the map like that. The village is pretty dangerous. Generally, I'd avoid it. Even for light tanks, it can be a bit risky, but with a medium or heavy tank, you're in deep shit if you get caught in there. My second shot of the match, just to light the enemy M36 on fire and burn him down. And I managed to get one into the Dickermax as well, who gets finished off by Nevzing. Now, the Hellcat and Achilles and Firefly in a platoon are quite nice, because what the Achilles and Firefly can't whittle down with smaller hits more rapidly, the Hellcat will finish off with a big hit. So they do complement each other quite well. Especially when you focus targets like this. Now the enemy team, again, I'm not sure what they thought they were doing, pushing into the middle like this and sitting completely out of cover, but it didn't do them any favours because myself, Nev and Hardest were just queuing up targets one at a time and focusing them down as best we could. Here I tracked the 1375 for Hardest, who finishes it. I do lose my driver there to the 304, which is my indicator to move. The 304 will make mincemeat out of a Firefly if it's allowed to fire at it for long enough. And this enemy IS is totally vulnerable at the moment. He's got his balls out in the wind and nobody is there to back him up. So as I wait for Hardest and Nev to move in, we opt to pincer him. Those two will go in from the left, or sorry, from the right. I'll come in from the left. And the plan was they would be behind him and I'd come around the front, but he actually started reversing out, and so I just cut in and popped around behind him. So not according to plan, but it's all good. All three of us are still up, and he got finished off pretty quickly. Now the enemy 304, because he's so short-ranged, had to be pushed right up. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to finish him there. I think my shell either hit his track or hit his gun, but he died quickly enough, and that's one of the problems with the 304, is you do have to get very close to get shots, and it is risky if you don't have a front line, basically. So here it's turning into a bit of a shooting gallery. The enemy JT-88 is completely exposed, however I was so target fixated on him I didn't notice the AC-46 looking right at me. Could have got away without losing those hit points there, but realizing how hard he's able to hit me, I decide to just duck into cover for a while and wait for him to either fire at somebody else or lose interest. He does take a shot there, and I roll up, and right as I do so, he actually turns his sight, which allows me to finish him off. Go for the war crime, and Nev finishes him. And now it's just the enemy Hellcat left, who is over on the far side of the map and doubtless about to go down to our teammates. So some platoon structures just work really well, and I think this is one of them. The Hellcat and the Achilles, one has very high rate of fire, low alpha gun, one has a low rate of fire but high alpha gun, relatively speaking. And while the Hellcat's extremely mobile, the Achilles isn't too bad. The Firefly is not hugely mobile, but it's good enough. So I think this kind of platoon structure works out quite well. The two rapid-fire guns keep things tracked and tied down, and then the Hellcat just puts in the finisher. Our platoon accounted for 8 of our team's kills, which is pretty good. That's more than half of our team's kills, in fact. And there's no way you can be unhappy with that performance. 2k damage in this thing, thereabouts. It's about what I aim for. Because it is a tier 6 tank and it doesn't have that many hit points, realistically you're not going to be averaging 2k across all your games, but 2k is a good goal, I think. At the moment, my average damage in the Firefly is sitting just below 1200. I think it's like 1179 or 1189 or something. So, I mean, that's still a decent amount for tier 6. It's still more than I have hit points by quite a considerable margin, but the higher I can bring that up, the happier I'll be. I think the Firefly does have the potential for a player of my sort of level to cap out probably around, I want to say probably 1300. I can't imagine myself getting much past that just because it's too fragile to reliably survive. But that's what I'll aim for. I'll see if I can get it, and hopefully I will. But either way, I don't think I'll need an average damage that high to get 3 marks of excellence on this. Probably I'd imagine about maybe 1220 or 1250 would be enough for 3, certainly enough for 2. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. As far as the Achilles goes, because I have mentioned it before, again, it wasn't really something that interested me. It seemed like basically just an M10 with a 17 pounder, and there's more interesting things in the game than that. For instance, the Archer. But Hardest says it's alright. He seems to like it. So I'd imagine it isn't too bad of a tank to get through if you decide to just grind up the tree. I don't think I'll be buying one anytime soon. Maybe in the distant future, when I start to run out of actual interesting tanks to get. But for now, I'm going to focus my attention on getting the Charioteer, which I'm much more interested in playing. At the moment, I'm not decided if I'm going to actually grind all the way through the Challenger yet, or if I'm going to skip part or all the way through. I've heard it described as a turret at E25, and honestly, from playing it on test, it wasn't too bad, but the fact remains that you are still just basically a Cromwell with a really fat turret with a 17 pounder in it, and you will be fighting against tier 9s, which is not really going to be pleasant. But again, we'll see how we go, and if I do end up playing it, you'll probably end up seeing some videos of it. But I am really, really excited for the Charioteer. I really can't wait to play it. On that note, I'll wrap this one up here. Next match will also be a Firefly match, and it's a big one. But until then, I wish you the best of luck in the field, and I'll see you on the next one.